Hi, I'm Avery Trufelman, and maybe you can relate to this. There's so many great podcasts out there, but it's impossible to listen to them all. That's why I'm so happy to be the host of Hark Daily, a new way to hear the best moments from the best podcast conversations. Each weekday morning, you'll hear 5 captivating clips from amazing podcasts on the day's news, culture, and so much more, all in 20 minutes. And it's totally free. Check it out at harkdaily.com.
The conscious effort we do make is not to overdo it. We don't want to say like, oh, we want 3 Michelin stars and then we're going to start doing crazy things just to get that. No, yeah. We're very focused on the guest experience. We're very focused on who we are.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. It was really amazing to have Enrique Olvera in the studio. Olvera is the acclaimed Mexican chef behind Pujol in Mexico City, Cosme in New York, celebrating its 10th year this year, and other acclaimed restaurants around the world. In this episode, Enrique shares his honest thoughts on how a global chef stays fresh, especially in the highly competitive restaurant scenes of New York City and Mexico City. We also talk about the business of restaurants, which is always a hot topic with those running them. Also on the show, we catch up with Ken Concepcion from the terrific Los Angeles bookstore Now Serving. We discuss the busy spring season and what types of books Ken is most excited about. I hope you enjoy this episode. Enrique Olvera, welcome to This Is Taste. How are you?
Great, Matt. Thank you for the invitation.
This has been a long time coming. I'm a huge fan of your work. We've known each other for a long time and got to hang out and have some meals. We're going to talk about Cosme's 10 years, which is remarkable. I feel like I've been going there steadily for the decade it's been in New York. We'll talk about Pujol. We'll talk about your cookbook. But tell me a little bit about how you, as a chef and operator, how do you split your time between New York and Mexico City and then other places?
It's hard to keep a balance in terms of the time equation. So I've done 2 strategies throughout my life. Some years I've decided I'm not going to fill up the agenda in the early weeks of the year and then surf the waves as they come. And then I realized there were a lot of waves, so I was traveling a lot for short periods of time. And then some other years, what I do is I sit down normally the last week of December, and then I assign certain periods to New York, to Los Angeles, to Oaxaca, to Los Cabos, to Nayarit, which are the cities that we have restaurants at, and then leave some spaces in blank. That also normally tends to change, so that's why I go back and forth. Sometimes I put the time slots and then an invitation comes through in a day that I was in New York, and I can't say no because I really don't have to be in New York. I just put it for myself. Yeah. But then it ends up being like a mix of the two. Yeah. So I'm still trying to figure it out. Every year in my notes, I always put a note to myself like travel less, but more days. This would be my goal.
More days in the cities. I mean, given this travel and all your businesses, I mean, I'm putting you on the spot, I realize, but is there like a favorite city that you just can't stay away from?
I think there's different times for different cities.
Yeah.
So definitely New York, the spring and the autumn are amazing here. I personally like a lot being in the winter next to the ocean and in the sun. So I tend to be in Nayarit and Los Cabos a lot during those times. And then I think the summer is really nice in LA and in Mexico City and in Oaxaca. So that's how I try to organize it in my mind.
It's a nice strategy to have those locations and those dates. When you're in New York, though, and you're off the clock and you're not in your restaurants, where do you like to dine out? I want to know, and I have some other questions about New York's evolution with modern Mexican, and I know some of the great talent here now, but where do you like to go out?
So normally in the mornings, I love to go out for a jog in the river and then have good coffee. I love Integral. I normally stay at the Bowery Hotel. That's the hotel that I like a lot because Atla is just a block away, and then I can hop in the subway, also super easy. And Cosme is a couple of train stops away. So I tend to go to Café Integral and Lydia in the mornings for coffee and a pastry. And then at lunch, I like to do seafood. So I normally go to a Greek restaurant. That would be my go-to.
Oh, it's nice. Do you have a favorite?
No, I tend to go a lot to Milos just because they know me and I love the lunch there. Try to keep it clean, like a salad, some fish, nothing too fancy. I used to go a lot to 15 East 15th. Unfortunately, that is no longer open.
I know.
But that was also like a really cool lunch spot. Sometimes I eat family meal in Cosme. Sometimes I go to Daily Provisions and just get a chicken. So those are like my go-to like regular places. And then sometimes I do like longer lunches. I tend to stay in the Cosme area just because I normally have meetings before or after. And then at night, I go a little bit everywhere. I really like Altro Paradiso. I think it's like solid.
So consistent.
Yeah.
So consistent.
Yeah.
Ignacio's cooking, yeah.
Yeah. And I think he also not only like he takes a little bit to start, and then once he's there, he keeps the quality super high.
And he keeps his menu items consistent too. He's not flipping it around too much. And I like that. A great tour of New York here. And I want to stay with New York and ask you just about New York's Mexican scene. I swear I had a guest on very recently who said there's no good Mexican food in New York. But for you, having opened a business here 10 years ago and seeing this evolution, either Taqueria Ramirez or places out in Queens or, of course, your restaurant, Cosme, and Alex Stupak's restaurants, it's one of the best in the world.
Yeah, I guess how he defines good Mexican might be
truth
an issue, no? Because I think, for example, something that happened with a lot of cuisines in New York is they became popular in a casual, everyday level, and then restaurants started to try to execute in a higher gastronomical level. No, this happened, for example, with Italian food. No, and everybody recognizes it. Mm-hmm. With Korean food, it happened as well. No, there has been like amazing, like easy, casual Korean restaurants in New York forever, and then a few chefs tried to execute that at a higher level in terms of the quality of the ingredients and the precision of the execution. Not necessarily that you're changing the cuisine. It's just you're trying to execute with the same standards that Michelin French restaurant with. Obviously keeping certain things from the culture, which I think is the tricky part, no? Because you could be like really out of context to try to do like fancy Mexican cuisine in a French setting. No, it makes really no sense. And because it hasn't been done as much before, I think this is when the trouble starts, because then you start carrying, or we start carrying as restaurateurs, a little bit of our personal baggage. No, so for example, when we opened Cosme, I was in a very contemporary mindset myself. No, so the mindset of Cosme was contemporary, Mexican with local products.
Yeah.
Right now, as I have aged and 10 years have passed, now I feel myself a little bit more classical, like a little bit less contemporary, but Cosme still has this vibe, no? But yeah, like you said, the scene has been evolving constantly. You cannot complain about how dynamic the Mexican restaurant scene in New York is. I think it's even more dynamic sometimes than other cities in the U.S.
Yes.
And I think the quality has also been getting a lot better. Nobody was nixtamalizing or hand-pressing tortillas when we came here, or at least that I knew of. Now a lot of people do that. Now there's projects like Sobre Masa that nixtamalize and
It's kind of like required if you're going to open even a casual Mexican restaurant, either a taqueria or something a little more plated and seated. You have to talk about your nixtamalization now.
And I think also a lot more Mexicans are opening Mexican restaurants, which helps a little bit with the flavor profile, no? Because it's always a little harder for somebody. Like if I try to do Korean, it would probably be difficult for me. It would take me a while, no? It's not that it's impossible. It just would take me a little while.
I remember doing a story with you when Cosme was opening a decade ago, and you were showing me, the pains you were making with, sourcing corn, bringing it from Mexico, and what nixtamalization was. I believe you probably introduced the term to me as a writer, and I was extremely excited. I remember writing a piece about it. Take me back a decade when you opened Cosme. What were you hoping to do for this really competitive city, a place you just laid out really beautifully how we've evolved as a town with great Mexican food, but at that point, really not much going on in the I would say the seasonal local angle, and of course with your fine dining background, having that kind of arsenal there. What were you hoping for?
I think what actually helped us a lot is that we were a little naive. We didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. We didn't think a lot about it. Pujol had been successful for a while. I was a little bit tired of feeling in my comfort zone in Mexico, and I wanted a challenge. So to me, it was a little bit about that, and also coming back to New York because I went to school at the CIA in upstate New York. So New York felt a little close to me. I have really good friends here in the industry, so I felt like I had a good network.
Yeah.
But it really was something that we didn't think a lot of. No, we just said we want to do something that focuses a lot on the basics. So we don't want to. We said we won't have all the kinds of glassware for different wines. We will have just one glassware that is amazing. We will not have a fish knife and a fish fork and all this ceremony that Pujol was going. It was taking that road, and we said with Cosme we want to keep things very simple. Focus on a place that is fun, that it's loud, that it's a little bit like New York, that it feels like it has a New York dining scene, and then use the local products as much as we can, and keep our roots through the corn, the beans, and the chile program. Those things those are the things we're going to bring from Mexico, and then everything else we will try to use from the area.
Yeah, and you have the market right there, of course. Talk about your location a little bit, because at the time, a decade ago, we forget most of the buzzier restaurants are happening in Brooklyn and then downtown a bit. Midtown or Flatiron, where you're at, it seemed almost like a dead zone. Gramercy Tavern, of course, legendary space, but that's a one of one. So what was it like opening in that area, in that location in New York?
Yeah, it took us also a couple of years to find this space that suited our project.
Yeah.
It used to be a strip club, tent, so it had this fun little vibe to it. And I guess Santiago, the two Santiagos, my partners had lived in New York for a while. Originally, we were looking at Tribeca. We saw a couple of things in Soho. And then when this space in the Flatiron came up, they said it's not as cool, but it's also very centric. No, it's
yes.
People can easily get to Cosme from almost everywhere in the city. So larger than we wanted originally, but also thank God we were busy almost from the start. So.
It's incredible because Cosme ends up being in Soho. Think about how those rents and that neighborhood is just overcooked. I know Atla is kind of East Village, but and it's a different format. But it's the perfect location for Cosme.
Yeah. It's I always have thought that there's luck, and you have to listen when people are. Or something comes up, you have to take the opportunity because it's presenting itself.
As the summer travel season approaches, I'm excited to let you know about 2 upcoming Taste Travels, our immersive travel series hosted by cookbook authors and me, Matt Rodbard. On June 15th, I will be joining the Mediterranean dish author Suzy Karache in Barcelona for an incredible week of culinary tours, cooking classes, and plenty of wine and jamon. And on September 15th, I will be joining author and baker Mauricio Leo of The Perfect Loaf for a tour of northern Italy. We will visit artisanal Parmigiano Reggiano and balsamic vinegar producers, take a masterclass in the art of panettone, and of course, eat plenty of stuffed pasta and mortadella in and around Emilia-Romagna. Both trips are nearly sold out and closing soon. If interested, write into hello@tastecooking.com and we will get you the information. That's hello@tastecooking.com. I hope to see you on one of our taste travels this summer. I always have wanted to ask you about the corn husk meringue because it's truly one of New York's most iconic desserts. I've spoken about on the show a couple times. I love this dessert. It is a must order every time. What's the kind of a brief story about how that, is that a Pujol recipe that you kind of brought over, or is that like an original Cosme?
Meringues is something that we eat a lot in Mexico as children. There's a couple of pastry shops, El Globo being one of them, that used to make this preparation. And you would probably get it on a weekend, no? And it was just a straightforward meringue. As you know, Mexico City had a big Austrian and French influence during the occupation. So there a lot of pastry shops have these kinds of preparations. And then when we were opening the restaurant, Daniela said we should do one with a corn cream instead of just straight cream. And back then, Jesus Perea, which was the pastry chef from Le Bernardin, we had hired him to do desserts and Cosme, and he came up with the development of the recipe. And then they didn't know how to plate it.
Yeah.
So they brought it to me, and it's like, okay, like let's just like break it and put like a. We used to do, no, it's kind of, I always have liked like 2 concentric sauces. We do that in the mole madre. We do that in several dishes. So it was the concentric creams and then just meringue to hold them up together.
Yeah, it's a stunning plating presentation. And really, when you dip into the cream, you're taken to Europe. You're taken to the finest pastry shops in America. And you're taken to Mexico in a way that it causes a lot of emotion. It's like, this is exquisite cuisine.
Yeah, I guess the cornbread is something that translates to different cultures. So I think that's the fun part about it, is that like it can remind you of like a cornbread in the U.S. or a panque de elote in Mexico, or even like in Italy.
It's a beautiful dish. I have to ask you, Mexico City, of course, is at the center of the universe with culinary travel. I mean, we've seen such a interest in going to Mexico City as Americans, and I think globally, it's like this, like one of the top visited cities in the world. And Pujol is like at the top of the list always. And I have to ask you, do you feel a little pressure running this like iconic restaurant in one of the most visited cities in the world? And the fact that you noted that you're not there every day, because why would you? Like, what's that feel like to have this restaurant with your name on it be so, like, thousands of photos a day are coming out of this restaurant?
Yeah, it's a little crazy too, because it took us a while as well to get to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you feel more than pressure, I think responsibility to make sure that when people visit us, it's worth their money and their time.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a consideration. We want to provide them with an experience that is not only technically impeccable, but also warm, and that you feel like you're in Mexico. I think hospitality is in our bones in Mexico. So we want to make sure that not only you come and you say like, oh, this meal was technically perfect, but you actually feel good. You feel welcome. You feel at home. You feel that Mexican warmth. So it is something that we talk a lot about during our manager meetings, and we always we always try to keep the feet on the ground. I think the conscious effort we do make is not to overdo it. No, we're not like we don't want to say like, oh, we want 3 Michelin stars and then we're gonna start doing crazy things just to get that. No, we're very focused on the guest experience. We're very focused on who we are as a restaurant, what we like. We approach it as you would approach anybody coming home. No, this is the way we approach most of our restaurants, but especially Pujol. No, we want the experience to be very calm, very welcoming. The menu is structured like that. You have like a few hors d'oeuvres. Like normally when you invite people, you never come and sit down directly on somebody's dining room. You normally go to the living room, have like a little bit of crudités or whatever you're doing, offer themselves a drink, and then you move to the table, and then you cook them what's in season, and the best that you can. So this is the dynamic in Pujol, and then you play the music that you like, and you make sure that the soap in the bathroom is amazing, and you're always smiling, and you're always like trying to be a little bit ahead of the curve, and try to anticipate the guest needs as much as you can.
Is it a formatted tasting only?
Is.
And it's like one option, and you're in the hands of your chef.
We have throughout time we have changed different formats as well. When we opened, we were a la carte and tasting. Then I think maybe in 2007 or 8 we moved to tasting only, but with certain options. Then when we moved to the new location, we had 2 separate menus. Back then I started to be a lot more concerned about health and how food makes you feel. I think it's something that happens to us as we grow a little bit older. You start realizing like long tasting menus with a lot of different proteins makes you feel really tired. And you don't. It's not that you don't appreciate the technical part of it.
You just can't get through it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get to a certain age, or even in any age, you just can't get through it. You're like, oh man.
Yeah, it's not pleasurable after a while. Especially because of the mix of the proteins. And then I remember I spoke to an anthropologist, and he told me like imagine like somebody like 500 years ago like eating at the same time like fish, rabbit, foie gras, meat. It's like this didn't happen. The body's not used to that.
Yeah.
Like if you had fish, you would eat a lot of fish. A lot of it, you can eat a lot, but only fish, or only seafood. So in 2016, we moved to a seafood menu and a corn menu. And we stopped using meat because of sustainability. The rhythm that we have in Pujol is very high. We normally do like 250 covers every day. So imagine...
Business is good.
Yeah.
Enrique, business is good.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
So imagine how many cows we would have to...
You can't be roasting shanks
exactly
for like 250 covers. I mean, you'd have to expand your space, and it keeps it more efficient. But also, like I think we've written on Taste about just a general exhaustion for like the 25 course tasting menu, and many, I think in New York at least, have recalibrated. So it's like prefix now. You're seeing that more.
And now we're moving again.
Oh yeah.
Well, after the pandemic, we stopped the corn and sea, and we just did one, because we were all. I think everyone after the pandemic or during the pandemic, we're trying to keep things as simple as possible.
Yep.
And now we feel a little bit more comfortable, and we're moving to. I call it like a little time wheel, which is amazing. We're doing 2 things, which is regional. We divided Mexico into 6 different regions.
Yep.
And then we are doing seasonal, regional, and changing every 4 months.
That's exciting. That must be great for you.
Yeah, and then you come back to it, which I think is what I really disliked about the lineal proposition of cooking. You do a dish, no, it stays during the season, no, and then you forget about it,
Yeah.
no. And there's some dishes that when I go through the books, sometimes of Pujol, I go like, oh, that dish was amazing, no.
Yeah.
Like I remember specifically a dish that we said it was like all the white things that grow under the earth, no. So it was like parsnips, leeks, and ant eggs.
Wow, incredible.
And it was
fun.
cooked like all of them were cooked in bone marrow, and they were like presented like bone marrow, and it was amazing. There's a dish that, and then we stopped doing it because the ant egg season finished, and the next year we were doing something else with ant eggs, and it's such a pity.
Play the hits, Enrique.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do. Like it's smart because if guests like these dishes, you should bring them back.
Yeah,
it's a lot of pressure too to have to write a new menu every season.
And I guess also, like I was saying, when I was young, no, I was like trying to create all the time.
Yeah.
Now I feel very comfortable. No, like going, like, yes, we still want to create. No, I was speaking to Gustavo, to the chef in Cosme yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was telling him, like, don't feel the pressure to create because then it'll be very difficult. Like, if you need to put a dish that was on last year's menu, do it while you think of the new dish. And then if something comes up, also do it.
Yeah, that's a great way. Yeah, if the genius strikes, put it on the menu. I want to talk a little bit about your new book, Sunny Days, Taco Nights. Great title. Great title. You've written 9 books. What more did you have to say with this book?
I guess also it's what we try to do with each book is have a different approach. We have had some Pujol books. The first one was about the 10 years. Then we had Mexico from the Inside Out, which was our first book with Faidon, which was a lot about Pujol, a little bit about Cosme. Then we did Tu Casa Mi Casa, which was like more for the home cook. And then with as tacos have become universal and more popular, we're seeing that people are starting to cook tacos at home. Most of the taco books that I've seen tend to be more documental. No, so there was like, oh, these are the different tacos. No, like Tacopedia or other. So many
Tacos by Alex Stupak. That's a good one too.
That's an amazing book.
Amazing book. Yep.
I think probably the first one in English. No.
Yeah, it was like 2016. He published that here at Clips and Potter. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the cover. No, with the tortilla.
Yeah.
I think Alex was ahead of his time. No, he's. I remember the first time I ate in Empellón, I think he was plating Giant George food on tortillas.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was so cool. No, it was like, because he was making the point that like if you put in a tortilla, it should be cheaper. But I think people maybe didn't understand that message at that time.
He's still ahead of his time.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
He really should check out his new spots. The Otter, it's quite good.
Yeah. I should go.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
We went together to Oaxaca, had such a fun trip.
I bet.
Yeah.
Hopefully someone was writing, right? Were you with any journalists or was it?
No, it was him and Rocio from Sanchez in Copenhagen. And then Alex Ruiz from Oaxaca. So we had a super fun time. It was for Pujol's 10th anniversary. Imagine it's going to be 25 years this May, so it's crazy.
Oh, you're celebrating 25 at Pujol? I didn't know that was the lineage. Wow.
Yeah.
10 and 25, very linear right now. A big year for you right now.
Yeah.
It's great.
Getting older, man.
Hey, you know what? You're looking better.
I'm going to start applying to the Legacy.
The Legacy Awards. You'll be in the senior tour.
I know. I like the senior tour. It's a little bit more classy.
It's good. I mean, you've won every award and you've been on all the lists, and it's nice to have a mindset where you can become a classic chef and not put that pressure on yourself. Yeah, it's a nice place to be.
Yeah, it truly is. I'm very grateful.
I'm going to go off script here. Please take a pass on this question, but I want to ask you this. In talking about Mexico right now, you know, in our country, in America, there's a great political turmoil around immigration, and you know, Mexico has really felt the brunt of this of negativity and legislation. And I have to ask you, Enrique, as a Mexican and working in New York and being aware of our political situation, generally, what would you say to Mexicans living in America who are currently under great pressure from the government?
Yeah. No, it's exhausting. No, I think fear is something that is really hard to live with and brings a lot of anxiety. I know a lot of people are nervous, no, and it's hard because it doesn't seem like it's not going to be like a short period of time. No, I think this is the problem with this kind of mentality, is that it sticks. So we'll see how things evolve. Fortunately enough, I think also Mexico has been recognized over the past few decades as a cultural powerhouse, no, and not only for the food, but for movies. So I think there's also a lot more pride that there used to be about being Mexican before, and hopefully that helps us get through this period. I think it's important for us to stay focused. No, it's a little bit out of our control. No, and just make sure, no, that we stay. Also, I think the best way to get through this is to try to anchor yourself to the community, because sometimes I see some people like being isolated, staying home because of the fear of going out. No, and isolation is, I think, very dangerous.
Yeah, you have to have community, but with that said, it can be more challenging with constant threat. I mean, when you speak with the staff members in New York, Atla and Cosme, who may be under pressure, what do you say to them? I've asked this question to other chefs working in New York. It's a constant dialogue and discourse, and it's a big part of the restaurant industry right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to do everything that we can to make sure that they feel as safe as possible. Our HR team has also told them their rights. No, it's important that they know what they can do, what people can ask them to do.
Good.
So I think this is the only thing we can do right now. And they're always welcomed in Mexico too, This is also something that it's super important that they know. They can always come back. Mexico is an amazing country. There's opportunity. There's great businesses. A lot of Americans have moved to Mexico during the pandemic. So I mean, it's a beautiful country. So it wouldn't be that bad to move back to Mexico. Yeah,
and your sentiment about having a real clear structure with your HR team and educating about rights is such an important facet. And you hear about other chefs, of Mexican background and not, and just educating staff. It's tough out there.
Yeah.
Enrique, and this is Taste. We ask guests about their discerning taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid fire, fast and furious taste check. Are you ready?
Let's do it. Can I answer in Spanish?
You can answer in Spanish if you'd like. We have some Spanish guests, and we have we don't do translation,
we'll
but
do the little
we could do some of that. So the best
caption.
Fruit.
The best fruit is the one that's in season.
Fair chef.
Peach.
Okay, peach in season is your guy. Okay. The worst vegetable.
The worst vegetable, radishes.
What kind? Like English or daikon?
The black ones. I love how they look, but they're very tough.
They're tough to cook with, yeah.
I like them just with lime.
Very nice. What is your typical breakfast?
Yogurt with honey and some pecans.
What kind of yogurt are you? It's a big choice here. There's lots of yogurts in our world.
I normally have Greek yogurt in Mexico from a farm called Cuatro Encinos.
Oh, you have your spot. That's good.
I love that yogurt.
The best dessert?
The best dessert is ice cream. Also, I like nut ice cream. So it can be like hazelnut or pistachio or pecan or coffee.
Coffee. And would you describe Mexico as having a big ice cream scene?
There's raspados, and then there's more sorbet like nieves and ice creams themselves. Mexico is not a big dairy country.
Big dairy, yeah. A restaurant you wish you could bring back from the dead?
Lutes.
Lutece. Wow,
Yes,
good one.
I love Lutece.
Talk about it a little bit.
So classic, and also perfect.
Yeah.
It was like being in a movie. I miss those places. We were speaking that there's not many left in the world anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you were at the CIA as a student, did you get to come down and visit Lutece?
Yeah, and I remember I came when I was doing the dining room cooking segment of the program. So we were like doing the Get It On. I was just going there and seeing
The carts.
Yeah, people cook in the dining room. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, do you play around with that at any of your restaurants? Have you?
I like the philosophy. I remember when I was in class, the instructor told us that you have to cook very gently in the dining room because you didn't want the big splash of oil or the smoke. So he taught us how to sear fish without using very strong heat, and I always like that. And I cook that at home. Obviously, in restaurants you can't, because you have to move fast.
Yeah,
but I tend to cook like that a lot when I'm home, like very slow.
Yeah, you don't need to crank it up. I mean, it's fun as a home cook, obviously, to go full flame.
Yeah,
but
I think it's more gentle, less violent.
That's a very well said. Good tip. When you're craving fast food in America, where do you go?
In and out.
Yeah. What's your order?
Just animal style.
Yeah. Do you hit it up when you're in LA once in a while?
Yeah, I think that's like one of the few places that I go to when I'm in LA often.
You mentioned Bowery Hotel in New York.
Yeah.
Where do you stay in LA?
I normally stay close to the ocean at the Proper in Santa Monica. I like running a lot and jogging, so it's nice to run next to the ocean. It feels like a little bit of a vacation. If I stay like a little bit more in the city, I feel like I'm in another city, and there it feels like a little bit of a vacation.
Are you running races at all? Are you training?
I did the marathon in Lisbon last year. I'm doing the half marathon next Sunday in Zurich.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so you do train. I took a hunch on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What was the marathon like for you? I mean, those are no joke.
It was harsh. It was like it's not 2 half marathons. It's like
Certainly.
It's like 8 of them.
Yeah.
Like I think once you go past 30, your body starts to take you can feel like it's crazy because you can feel how you're like literally eating yourself.
Yeah. Speaking of eating, when you're done with the marathon in Lisbon, great food city, of course. What was on your menu?
That's how we choose them. No, it's
right.
It needs to be a city that you can eat after. And I also like small cities. So this is why it's like Zurich, or thinking they told me the Hawaii one was amazing.
Yeah.
The marathon, Kyoto is also like a city there. So places that are beautiful, small, and that you can eat a great meal. San Sebastian would be another.
Oh, that would be beautiful. When you're running, just training runs, are you listening to music, podcasts, or are you just letting your mind wander?
If I'm in nature, I try not to. If I'm running in a city, I definitely have my headphones on.
Yeah, music?
Yeah, music. Yeah, I have 2 or 3 different playlists. One of them like very calm, more classical music.
Yeah.
And then I have one like hits from the 80s in both Spanish and English. So I try not to. I run because it disconnects my brain.
Yeah.
So I'm not I don't like the workout songs like very strong, because I actually use it to get calm.
It's a way to start your morning, start your day, and in a calm spot. I agree. That's a great way. Your favorite city outside of Mexico and America to visit for food?
San Sebastian, one of them. And probably, Tokyo.
Tokyo, yeah.
Yeah, it's easy. I mean, those 2 are like high up for everyone.
For a reason.
I'll tell you, I've been going a lot to Zurich lately because I'm dating someone there, and Zurich's a great city to eat as well. Huh? There's this place called Gamper that I love going to. I miss Gamper. Every time I go back, I go all the time.
Have you been approached to open in Japan?
A couple of times, but I think Japan is something that you need to take super serious. And I would do either, if I'm not able to move there for a while, I would probably do something more casual.
Yeah.
I think the only way to do something upscale is if you have the time to be there at least for a year.
I could see Atla working in Tokyo. I could see that working.
Yeah, something like a little casual. If you can't be there all the time.
Yeah.
My kids are getting older, so maybe in a couple of years I have free time, and then I'll do. I don't know if like a permanent thing, but maybe just like I would love to live in Japan for a year.
Yeah.
I would love to.
And they'd probably love to have you there too.
Yeah, hopefully.
Last one, your favorite sandwich.
My favorite sandwich is just cheese sandwich. Just like really good butter, sourdough bread, a nice Comté cheese.
Comté, yeah.
And then just like press it. I like to put a heavy weight on it, make it thin.
Are you adding heat?
Yeah, of course.
Toast, okay.
Toast it.
It has to be. I mean, like you're pressing it down, toasting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the press sandwich.
And then serve with cornichons.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Only butter, no acid.
No acid, no.
I love this choice with Comté.
Yeah.
That sounds that's a very European sandwich.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
Enrique Olvera, thank you so much for joining us.
Muchas gracias.
Ken Concepcion, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Hey, Matt. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Well, I've wanted to have you on for a very long time. We've featured you on Taste and did a great interview several years ago, but we haven't had you on the podcast. You're now serving is your store that you run with Michelle, and it's so important to our industry. So many of our authors that we feature on the show stop by for terrific events. I've done events at your store in LA. It's truly remarkable. I love your store. Tell us a little bit about how you got started with Now Serving.
Oh, thanks for all the kind words about the shop. So we opened the shop in 2017. So we've been around. We're in our 8th year right now. And a cookbook store was really one of the things that was one of the reasons why I was inspired to get into cooking. One of my first jobs out of college was actually working at a bookstore, and I was just obsessed with cookbooks. And that really parlayed into my interest into working in the restaurant industry. I wanted to go to cooking school, but I didn't. I just got out of college, so I didn't have any funds to do that. So I just started working in restaurants, and cookbooks were kind of the way for me to learn while I was working in restaurants there.
Well, Ken, it's clear that your deep, culinary background as a chef working for over a decade in the industry makes Now Serving so special because you speak directly to the chef community in LA who are seeking out cookbooks, as many chefs do. But of course, there's a much broader audience of people who just love cookbooks. And I love that you have both audiences really attracted to Now Serving. Tell us a little bit about your culinary background, like where you worked as a chef and what that was like, and how you decided to leave the chef world and then start Now Serving.
Absolutely. I started working in restaurants in the late 90s in St. Louis. And I'm originally from New York and New Jersey, but I went to school out in St. Louis, and after school, I really figured out that I wanted to try working in restaurants and work with food. And so, cookbooks were a big part of that. And, I'd come home from service, I'd read books until the early hours of the morning, and then go back to the restaurant. And with working in restaurants, I'd worked in professionally as a chef for almost 19 years, and 12 of those I worked for Wolfgang Puck here in Los Angeles. I got a job offer in St. Louis to work for Wolfgang to help open his fancy steakhouse, which I lovingly called the fancy steakhouse called Cut in Beverly Hills. in 2006, and I really thought I was going to be out here in LA for maybe a few years, and um, that's when I met Michelle. Working in restaurants really, yes, it really informs the shop, but it also, what Michelle kind of adds to it is, you know, I remember when we first started thinking about who our audience was. I was like, well, if we just get the chefs and industry and the professionals, then we should be okay. But it turns out that obviously everyone loves food, and the home cooks, the home bakers, the cookbook lovers themselves really. It was really heartening to see everyone kind of turn out, and this was, of course, coincided with this the social media food Instagram boom um, of the 2010s. So that
Yeah.
was really what kind of launched us.
What a great time to open a cookbook store, just with the added intensity and interest in cookbooks and the food world as a whole. Uh, you've survived the pandemic, and we can talk a little bit about that later. But in 2017, when you're opening, let me ask you, how did you find this truly unique space? In Chinatown, I guess you could call it Chinatown, I guess. But what it's in a plaza that has so many other great businesses, and it's such an iconic space now.
Oh, thanks. It's funny. Michelle and I, we looked at a few other spaces when we were thinking about opening, now serving, and at the time, I was still working as a chef, and I was close and still very close to a lot of chefs in the industry here in the community, and um, there's something about Chinatown that uh, really was kind of luring us in. We had a number of chefs who had just opened businesses in Chinatown, like it was the Valencia brothers from Lhasa, uh, and Alvin Kylon. Um, you know, Roy Choi, he had opened Chago in Chinatown at that point, which was really kind of put Chinatown on the map as far as, like, not necessarily a new culinary destination, but a neighborhood to kind of really look at. And it's so central. It's a stone throw from Dodger Stadium. It's right outside of downtown. So yeah, and growing up in New York, my parents would always take us down to Chinatown, to Mott Street, every weekend. So Chinatown has always been kind of like a familiar and comfortable, but also kind of an enigmatic place. So it felt kind of cool to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, great timing for that for that location. Of course, the pandemic comes, and a lot of the energy just gets sapped away, and nothing you could avoid. But how did you survive the pandemic? I mean, it's amazing that you were able to do that. And I remember you did so many virtual events, and became known as hosting some of the best conversations during the pandemic. And that's when I got to know you really well in 2020, 2021. So it seemed to work out well.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that as far as the virtual events. So in when everything kind of shut down here in LA, March 16th, 2020, um, we actually didn't really have a robust online e-com site. So um, really, because we didn't really have the space to do online fulfillment or shipping. But of course, with everything shut down, we pushed everything online, including our events. Uh, and we really kind of stripped it down to the bar tax and looked at what people could do and what people were interested in. And the best thing for me about the virtual events was, we would have, the people from Dishoom talking to Evan Kleiman here, to, someone in Italy talking to another great Italian chef here in Philadelphia. So it was really a great way to make the world a little bit smaller when it was such a challenging time. And we actually we were online only for about a year and a half, and that really kind of pushed us to the next level. And we're very, very fortunate for that.
Yeah. And you've continued that spirit, and it leads to my next question. You have now a tremendous lineup of events within the store, and it's a really cozy store. I mean, it has, you really pack a punch for the square footage you have there, and it's just so well designed and so many great titles. And we'll talk about many, but I want to know like the events that you host there. I mean, you're coming off this busy spring season. What's it like at a Now Serving event?
It's funny. I always joke that we definitely need a bigger boat. It's 500 square feet uh, um, to kind of play with in the shop. Um, but as far as the events, we really kind of focused on. We do a lot of things, but in the shop, we focused on an author conversation with a moderator that we also, curate as thoughtfully as we can to match with the author and the subject matter of the book. Um, the shop we can pack incredibly, we can pack 40 people into the shop, and it feels kind of like a house party in the best of time, in the best way. And after that, it, I always kind of liken it to seeing an event in the shop is kind of like seeing a show at the Troubadour.
Hmm.
And it's really just an intimate setting where you wouldn't necessarily, be talking to Ben Shrewery from Attica in, 15 feet away from you. So we feel it's pretty special.
Absolutely. And it feels like a basement party for sure. I love that vibe about it. Well, let's talk about some spring books. I think you have a great sense of what's good and what's selling, and we're going to link to Now Serving links in the show notes where you can buy the books at the shop. And I highly recommend that. We love indie booksellers, and we try to bring voices on as much as we can on the show. I mean, it's a broad question, but like this spring season, so much happening. What are you drawn to title wise? What are some titles that really are jumping out for you editorially? Anything that's like really been selling well? I'm curious about that.
Sure. I mean, this spring season has been really kind of impressing us as far as the scope and the breadth of everything that's coming out. There's been some great African books, like Eric Ajapong's Gone Into the World, which is one of my favorite books this year. Chop Chop, which is a Nigerian book, and then that kind of goes into like there's a great Caribbean book called Kin by Marie Mitchell, which we really like. Um, and then titles that are sticking out to me right now. There's Coastal, which is from the chef Scott Clark of Dad's Luncheonette, and also Calvin Ang of Bonnie's in Brooklyn. Salt Sugar MSG has been. We honestly we can't really keep that in the shop. It's really moving with our community here.
This is some great recommendations. We've had several of those authors on our show, and I love that you mentioned African cookbooks because I asked Matt Sartwell probably 5 years ago, what are you looking for? And I think he said, African cookbooks, and the industry has responded in the best way in publishing these works. And Kin sounds, I haven't picked up Kin yet, but tremendous author there and a groundbreaking work. Let me ask you about what you wish that were more cookbooks, topic wise or otherwise. I mean, you're at the tip of the spear with cookbook trends, and I'd love to get a sense of what you're into right now.
Yeah, it's funny. We kind of look at what is coming out and trying to assess, where the publishers are kind of coming from and what authors are being featured. There's definitely a ton of stuff out that we have to kind of do our homework with, as far as um, whether it's like the creators or influencers who are being published, or smaller authors that we need to do our due diligence and really look into what they're trying to convey in their work. But um, for us here specifically at Now Serving, we have, I would say, once or twice a week, we have people coming in looking for books that represent the breadth and scope of Central and Latin America, specifically um, Guatemala, Ecuador, more Peruvian books, um, Brazilian books. I know there's one coming on the way, probably in a year or two, from Biden, that we're excited about. But yeah, I mean, it would be great to see more representation from that part of the world, because and also like Cambodian and Lao books would be fantastic to see more of that as well.
Great thoughts, Ken. I appreciate that. And I think we have folks in the industry listening and hope to publish all those titles here at Penguin Random House and throughout the industry. I want to talk about the collab you have with Suzanne Goin. I mean, we did this great event with Korea World last year, and you were there selling books, and it was such a great collaboration because you're there and Suzanne's hosting us at the restaurant. We're doing a collaborative menu. I love that series. Are you planning any of those in the future?
Right now, we are kind of assessing what that collab is going to look like in the future. But I want to say that the 2 years that we've been doing it with Suzanne and Caroline Stein, and their amazing team at Caldo Verde at the Proper here in downtown Los Angeles, it's been amazing, just because you get to see kind of like the book come to life in other people's hands. And it's really gratifying to see authors like you and Dookie kind of see the food and the work that you guys put into the book, really kind of actually like show up on the plate and get delivered to the guests, and see how gratifying that is.
What a fun restaurant, Caldo Verde, and the rooftop there too at the Proper. I really loved my time there, and it's true. You would get to meet a bunch of authors who are actually on the line working and cooking with Suzanne and her staff. It was a special moment.
Yeah, so it's such a cool collab, and I hope we get to do more of it.
Well, you also sell periodicals, magazines, indie publications, in addition to cookbooks. What's interesting you in that world right now, and what's on the shelf?
Oh yeah, so one wall at the shop is dedicated to our magazine rack, which I always kind of think of as like in a record store, in like a 90s indie record store. It would be where you would see like featured albums, and for us it's magazines and food publications from around the world. Right now, there's an independent magazine called Synonym that we're huge fans of, and we're friends with the team behind that. But Synonym is great. There's 2 issues out right now, and the second issue is called Rice and Beans, and it really kind of looks into the culture and into the foodways of some of the most kind of common foods that we're all familiar with, but really kind of taking a deep dive into what goes behind it.
Love that. I need to pick that up. I wasn't familiar with Synonym. I will definitely check that out. It's great.
Yes, terrific.
Yeah, I love indie publishing is so exciting, and when you curate such a great wall, it's just like an added bonus to come into your shop and have all the great cookbooks, but then have these indie presses there too. Yeah, it's very throwback. You're a huge music fan, and you have great taste in music, and I think I've been lucky to travel to so many culinary bookstores around the country and world, and yours is the most punk, Ken. It's the most punk. to use an embarrassing term, but I feel like you have that ethic of a record store more than anyone.
I appreciate that. A friend once said that we were just trying to be the other music of bookstores, and as an old head, I really appreciated that comment. Um, and to be honest, at least a couple times a week in the shop, I have to remember that I need to turn the music down, and then it's a bookstore. So
Man, I think blasting music at a bookstore is the best way to do it. When we do live events at Rizzoli, I'm always like, let's turn up the music, guys, before we hit the stage. I'm like, this is an event. Bookstores are like record stores. I'm with you. I'd be doing the same. Ken, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you. Your shop is now serving. If you are visiting LA or live there, you got to stop by.
thank you so much, Matt. It's been an honor to be on the pod.
This is Taste is hosted and produced by Eliza Barbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Logo and guest illustrations by Ellie Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.